Do we even need freedom? The answer is a little complicated. Let's discuss 7 truths about freedom before we answer our question. Truth 1. Rules are the foundation of freedom. We often imagine freedom as the breaking of rules, as if true liberation means casting off every limit. But look closely. If there were no rules at all, there would be no meaning, no existence, and no action. Freedom does not live in the absence of rules. Freedom is born inside them. Consider physics. The speed of light, gravity, the conservation of energy, these are not prisons. They are the scaffolding that makes reality possible. Gravity does not oppress us. It makes walking, breathing, living possible. If atoms were not bound by the rules of electromagnetism, if protons and electrons floated apart without order, there would be no matter, no bodies, no minds to even consider freedom. Think of language. Words only mean something because grammar and syntax hold them together. Without rules, sound collapses into noise. Without shared patterns, no thought could ever pass from one mind to another. It is structure that gives freedom of expression its strength. Or think of music. Notes gain beauty not because they are random, but because rhythm and scales give them shape. A symphony is not every instrument playing anything it pleases. That would be chaos, not music. The freedom of the musician lies in navigating the rules of harmony, bending them with creativity, not abandoning them. The same is true for mathematics. Infinity itself is not disorder, it is patterned, structured, unfolding through rules of logic and number. The infinite is comprehensible only because rules give it form. Without rules, infinity would not exist. This is the paradox at the heart of existence. The very limits we often resist are what allow freedom to arise. The rules of the universe are not chains, they are the canvas. They are the conditions that make choice possible at all. Imagine for a moment a universe without rules. No physical laws, no mathematical order, no logic to time or causality. In such a universe, nothing could move, nothing could change, nothing could even exist. Chaos is not freedom. Chaos is the death of freedom. For in chaos there is no possibility, no leverage, no agency. Freedom requires a stage upon which it can act, and that stage is built of rules. When we understand this, the nature of freedom changes. It is no longer the childish dream of doing whatever I want. It becomes a deeper recognition that true freedom lies in understanding the rules that shape reality and leveraging them with intention. Rules give us the foundation, and consciousness gives us the awareness to navigate them. Between these two, freedom is born. So the first truth is clear: rules are not the opposite of freedom. Rules are the foundation of freedom. Truth 2. Awareness transforms rules into leverage. If rules are the foundation of freedom, then awareness is what makes those rules usable. Without awareness, rules remain invisible, like the deep currents of the ocean that carry us whether we know it or not. We drift. We repeat patterns. We obey laws we cannot see. But with awareness, the rules become visible. And once visible, they can be navigated, bent, or even used as leverage to create something new. Think about flight. For most of human history, gravity was an unbreakable prison. It held us down, and the dream of flying was myth, fantasy, or divine miracle. But the moment we became aware of the laws of lift, drag, and thrust, gravity stopped being a prison. It became part of the equation. By understanding it, we did not escape the rule, we learned to work with it. Awareness turned gravity from an oppressor into a partner. Or think of disease. For centuries, plagues were seen as curses, random punishments from gods or fate. We had no awareness of microbes or immune systems. But the moment we became aware of bacteria, viruses, and vaccines, the rules changed. Disease did not vanish, but our ability to navigate it transformed. Awareness turned helplessness into medicine, chaos into strategy. This pattern is universal. Rules plus awareness equals freedom. Rules without awareness equals bondage. Consider your own life. Most of what people call freedom is in fact unconscious repetition, habits drilled into the brain by biology, culture, and trauma. People act, but they do not see why they act. They choose, but they do not know why they choose. They are moved, but they believe they are moving. Awareness interrupts this cycle. It reveals the hidden structure. It shows that the choices we thought were free were conditioned, automatic, programmed. And once you see the program, you can choose to follow it, or not. Awareness is the lever that lifts us from compulsion into conscious action. Freedom is not simply a matter of having many options. A bird in a storm may have the sky, but without awareness of the winds, it is thrown about, powerless despite infinite space. True freedom is the bird who knows the winds, who feels their flow, who uses them to soar higher. Awareness is what transforms a chaotic world into a navigable one. And here lies the deep truth. The universe does not hand us freedom automatically. It gives us rules. It gives us consciousness. The rest is up to us. We must cultivate awareness. We must learn to see what governs our lives. And the clearer we see, the more freedom we truly possess. So the second truth is this: awareness transforms rules into leverage. Without awareness, rules dominate us. With awareness, rules empower us. Truth 3. Freedom exists only through purpose. Rules give structure. Awareness makes those rules visible. But without purpose, freedom still dissolves into emptiness. Freedom for the sake of freedom is not freedom at all. It is drift. It is the wandering of a ship that has sails and wind but no destination. Purpose gives freedom its direction. It is what prevents freedom from collapsing into indulgence or paralysis. Without purpose, 1,000 choices feel like noise. With purpose, even one choice can feel like liberation. Think of tools. A hammer means nothing without the intention to build. A computer means nothing without the intention to learn, create, or connect. Likewise, freedom is a tool that only becomes valuable when tied to an aim. Otherwise, it remains potential without application. This is why societies often misunderstand freedom. They glorify it as the ability to do whatever you want, yet this kind of shallow freedom quickly becomes hollow. A person who does whatever they want without clarity drifts between distraction, consumption, and repetition. Their freedom becomes slavery to impulse. But consider purpose. The artist who chooses their medium and dedicates themselves to creation feels free, even when constrained by discipline. The scientist who devotes themselves to discovery feels free, even though the work is arduous and filled with limitations. The parent who raises a child within countless obligations feels a deeper freedom than one who floats aimlessly. Paradoxically, purpose transforms limitations into empowerment. Every athlete trains under restriction, diet, schedules, physical strain, but through those restrictions, they gain mastery. Their purpose reshapes the very rules that might have felt oppressive into instruments of liberation. Here is the secret: freedom without purpose is not freedom. It is inertia, dressed up as possibility. Purpose is what turns awareness into action, action into influence, and influence into meaning. Look at the universe itself. It operates with rules. It births awareness through conscious beings. But is there an ultimate purpose? Some argue yes, others no. But for us, purpose does not have to be cosmic. It has to be personal, chosen, lived. Even if the universe offers no purpose, our awareness allows us to create one. That act of choosing purpose is the deepest exercise of freedom. Thus the third truth is this: freedom exists only through purpose. Without purpose, freedom collapses into chaos or indulgence. With purpose, freedom becomes power, clarity, and meaning. Truth 4. Freedom is a dance between constraint and creativity. Take chess as an analogy. Pieces follow strict rules: the knight in L shapes, the bishop diagonally, the queen with sweeping power. Restrictions seem severe, and yet within these rules lies an infinity of games. The constraints do not kill possibility, they multiply it. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. That is meaningless. True freedom is the creative use of constraints. The painter works with a canvas, the composer with a scale, the poet with a form. They are not less free because of limits. They are more free because limits give shape to creation. Without a frame, the painting is just endless paint spilled into void. Without a scale, music becomes noise. Without language, poetry dissolves into meaningless sound. The same applies to life. Rules and constraints are not the death of freedom, they are the conditions that allow freedom to exist. The limits of the human body, the fact that we age, tire, and perish, make choice matter. If we had infinite time, infinite energy, infinite possibility, then nothing we chose would ever hold weight. Mortality is a constraint, but it is also the pulse that gives life urgency and meaning. The universe works the same way. Gravity, light, energy, these are the cosmic rules. Freedom is not breaking them. Freedom is playing within them with awareness and intention. The bird is not free because it defies gravity, but because it uses gravity, air pressure, and wing shape to fly. The surfer is not free because they control the ocean, but because they ride its uncontrollable force. Constraint, then, is not the opposite of freedom. It is the partner of freedom. The two move together like dancers, one providing structure, the other expression. Without constraint, creativity cannot exist. Without creativity, constraint remains lifeless. This is why every act of true freedom feels like play. It is not the rigid following of rules, nor the reckless breaking of them. It is the weaving of rules into something unexpected, alive, and meaningful. The chess master creates strategies no one has seen before, though every move is bound by rules. The musician improvises new melodies, though every note comes from the same finite scale. The human being lives a life never lived before, though every life is bound by the same universal laws. Thus the fourth truth is this: freedom is not the absence of limits. Freedom is the art of turning limits into possibility. It is the dance between constraint and creativity. Truth 5. Freedom expands through relationship. Freedom does not exist in a vacuum. It is not purely internal, nor purely personal. It grows, evolves, and deepens through interaction with other beings, with the environment, and with the structures that shape existence. Consider language again. A single person alone can think and imagine, but meaning truly emerges when language is shared. Words gain life only when another mind understands them. Without listeners, the freedom of speech is limited to internal echoes. The same is true for social systems. Laws, customs, and expectations can feel like constraints, yet they also create spaces where cooperative freedom can flourish. Traffic rules, for example, constrain individual motion, yet they enable thousands of people to move freely without chaos. Freedom, here, is amplified through relationship. Human minds do not exist in isolation. Each of us learns, adapts, and perceives through connection. Ideas are shaped by discussion, insight grows through critique, and influence spreads through collaboration. The solitary mind may act, but it is the network of conscious beings that turns individual freedom into collective impact. This principle extends to all conscious life. In nature, ecosystems operate through interdependence. The freedom of one species is tied to the balance of others. A river cannot flow freely if the surrounding environment is destroyed. A bird cannot soar without air and gravity working together. Freedom is relational. It is the measure of how actions interact with the larger web of existence. Awareness magnifies this truth. Consciousness allows us to see not only our own rules and choices, but also the rules that govern others. We realize that exercising freedom responsibly requires considering consequences, influence, and interconnection. True freedom is therefore inseparable from responsibility. It is a dialogue between self and world, self and other. In this sense, freedom is not simply the ability to act, it is the ability to act within the complex field of relationships and systems while preserving agency and integrity. Every action reverberates, creating new possibilities, new constraints, and new opportunities for freedom. Thus the fifth truth is this: freedom expands through relationship. It is multiplied, refined, and given purpose through interaction, interdependence, and conscious engagement with the world. Truth 6. Freedom is fundamental to the universe. Up to this point, we have explored rules, awareness, purpose, constraint, and relationship. Now we step back and ask a deeper question: is freedom merely a human experience, or is it a fundamental property of reality itself? The universe is not static. Stars are born, galaxies collide, life evolves, and consciousness awakens. Novelty emerges constantly. Patterns are repeated, but never perfectly. Possibility unfolds. This dynamism suggests that freedom, the capacity for new configurations, for unpredictable creation, is not just incidental, it is woven into the very fabric of existence. Look at quantum mechanics. Particles exist in superposition, probabilistically spanning multiple states until observed. Freedom is built into reality at the most fundamental level. The universe itself is not a deterministic clock. It is a field of potential, an open system in which outcomes are not pre-written. Even the laws of physics allow for emergence. Complexity arises from simple rules. Galaxies form, life evolves, intelligence develops. The unfolding of potential is inherent in the cosmos. Freedom is the stage upon which existence experiments, explores, and manifests novelty. This does not mean the universe is conscious or moral. It does not mean that freedom is always benevolent or safe. It means that freedom, the capacity for choice, for action within constraints, for novelty within rules, is a condition of reality itself. The cosmos is not a rigid machine, it is a dynamic system capable of generating new possibilities. Conscious beings are uniquely positioned within this framework. We perceive patterns, understand rules, navigate constraints, and choose purposefully. In doing so, we are not merely participants in the universe. We are agents capable of amplifying freedom. Our awareness allows us to recognize and wield the freedom already embedded in existence. Freedom, then, is not just a human aspiration. It is fundamental. It exists everywhere possibilities arise, everywhere complexity develops, everywhere consciousness emerges. The universe is not bound only by rules. It is alive with potential. And potential is freedom in its most primordial form. Thus the sixth truth is this: freedom is fundamental to the universe. It is inherent in existence, embedded in every unfolding moment, and realized through conscious awareness and action. Truth 7. The human task is to wield freedom. We have seen that freedom arises from rules, is amplified by awareness, gains meaning through purpose, blossoms within constraints, expands through relationship, and is fundamental to the universe. Now we must ask, what does this mean for us? What is the human task in the face of freedom? The answer is simple, yet profound. We are here to wield it. To act consciously within the framework of reality, to navigate its rules, leverage its possibilities, and shape outcomes with insight and care. Freedom is not given. It is not granted by society, law, or even the cosmos. It is realized by those who choose to see, understand, and act. Every choice, every action, every moment of awareness is an opportunity to exercise freedom responsibly. To do otherwise is to waste it, or worse, to let it drift into chaos and harm. Consider the artist, the scientist, the philosopher, the parent, the leader. Each of them is given constraints, rules, and relationships. Each has potential and awareness. Each can wield freedom to shape something that did not exist before: ideas, systems, lives, understanding. In this, human action mirrors the universe itself. It experiments, creates, and generates novelty. This is the ethical dimension of freedom. To be conscious is not enough. To act without awareness or purpose is to squander the gift embedded in our minds and in reality itself. To wield freedom effectively is to align knowledge with action, constraints with creativity, self-interest with connection, and possibility with responsibility. In this sense, the human task is both privilege and burden. We are the agents capable of transforming the latent freedom of the universe into meaningful outcomes. Our minds are the instruments that can amplify freedom, not just for ourselves, but for others, for life, for the unfolding of possibility itself. Thus the seventh truth is this: the human task is to wield freedom consciously, deliberately, and purposefully. To act with awareness, to leverage rules, to navigate constraints, to choose meaning, and to participate in the universe as creators of possibility. When understood this way, freedom is no longer abstract or theoretical. It becomes practical, sacred, and urgent. It is the core responsibility of every conscious being. It is the measure of our humanity. So, do we need freedom? Yes. but not in the shallow sense of doing whatever we want. We need freedom because without it, consciousness cannot act. Without it, the universe cannot express its potential. Without it, existence itself collapses into rigidity. Freedom is not a luxury. It is not a cultural invention. It is the universe's way of remaining alive, dynamic, and self-aware. It is the mechanism by which possibilities become realities, by which rules and constraints are transformed into creativity, by which awareness is translated into influence. And our role as conscious beings is not merely to recognize freedom, but to wield it, to navigate the rules of reality with understanding, to act with purpose, to transform raw potential into meaningful creation, to take the cosmic gift of freedom and use it to shape lives, ideas, and systems in ways that matter. Freedom, in this sense, is responsibility. It is both privilege and duty. The choices we make, the awareness we cultivate, the purposes we pursue, all of these are expressions of the freedom granted to us by the structure of reality itself. That is the purpose of freedom. That is the responsibility of consciousness. When we embrace this truth, we see that freedom is not optional, not superficial, not external. It is the pulse of existence itself, the field in which consciousness operates, and the instrument through which the universe realizes its potential. And so, to live fully, to act wisely, to create meaning, this is why we need freedom, and this is why freedom is worth everything.